Good day, everyone. Welcome back to White Belt CrossFit. Start of another week. We are pumped to spend some virtual time with you today. We're going to do a hero WOD called Brenton. It's 5 rounds for time. First movement is going to be a 100-foot bear crawl. The second movement is going to be a 100-foot broad jump, standing broad jump, right? The caveat to this is every 5 jumps, you are to execute 3 burpees. So 5 rounds for time, 100-foot bear crawl, 100-foot standing broad jump. Every 5 jumps, you execute 3 burpees. We have 2 points of performance today. One is we talk about a lot in the gym. The other we don't necessarily talk about, but we've mentioned a few times, but it's not something that we harp on, but I do want to mention it today. So the first one is being able to land with feet straight. That is on the standing broad jump as well as the burpee. So when we are executing the burpee, when we stand up, we want to land with our feet as straight as we can, right? That's one. The other one is when I do a standing broad jump and I want to come at you, I want to be able to land with my feet straight as well. The reason that we want to use feet straight in this jumping and landing is it is a motor programming tool that transfers to a whole bunch of other stuff. So let me explain what that means. When you squat, you have a certain foot placement. When you land in a box jump, you have a certain foot placement. When you Olympic lift, you have a certain foot position when you land. When you broad jump or burpee, you have a foot position when you land. Those landing positions should not be different. What happens is there's this concept called competing patterns, and your brain maps this as a different movement. And so it becomes a lot more difficult to distinguish in the moment under fatigue or load or stress which one of those foot placements you're trying to land in. The simplest way to get around this problem is if you can adopt a foot position that is universal to all of those positions, to all those movements, I should say, then your brain recognizes that, oh, this is where my feet are supposed to be, and now your skill becomes better across a whole bunch of different movements. And so it transfers to things that you're not necessarily working on, but certainly look relatively similar in terms of the position that you're in, right? So it's non-competing patterns when you are focused on these foot positions, whether I am kettlebell swinging, jumping and landing, squatting, doesn't matter. If you can adopt that similar foot position, your brain will pick up that pattern quicker and your skill will become more efficient, right? It's a better skill, a better position to execute a skill. Yeah, that's one. The second point of performance that I want you to pay attention to is relative to the hip. You are going to be fatigued, call it round 3 and beyond. And as the WOD suggests, the more inefficient your jump becomes, the more work you have to do in terms of more burpees because you have to jump more. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You are going to be fatigued, and at some point you are going to jump. I'm going to use a vertical jump here as opposed to a broad jump, so I'll stay in frame, but it's the same kind of point. You will jump with a hip position that stays closed, right? You will have an angle in your hip. And what that does is it limits the force and the explosiveness that you can generate in that jump, which means you are going to jump shorter, which means you're going to jump more times. The more times you jump, the more burpees you do, right? So here is point of performance relative to the hip. When you jump, I want you to really think about extending the hip as much as you can, right? When you get this extension and then have to close it back down, that is a really explosive, powerful athletic position. Here's the other thing it does. This refers back to this competing pattern or non-competing pattern. If I can get really good at explosion the hip and then closing it down in order to land, That is really, really transferable to vertical jump, to Olympic lifting, anything where I have to explode the hip, kettlebell swings. That's gonna make my skill more efficient as well. So today, if you wanna have a theme, is about non-competing patterns. Do stuff, do the movement, execute the movement that allows you to get better at not only that skill, but other skills that you work on in the gym as well. So, first one is foot placement, make sure it is straight as possible. Second one is every single jump, use that hip extension in order to generate as much explosiveness and as much power as you can. That way you are jumping less frequently. That way you are doing less burpees and you're executing the skill at a higher level, right? Have fun with this, and we will see you tomorrow.